By the way, you look great. I don't say
Thank
that just to be nice, but you do. You've got amazing shoulders.
you.
Uh,
My tango posture.
oh, is that what it is? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, the dancer posture
by the way, you
helps
look
a lot.
great. I don't say that just to be nice,
Oh,
but
we're live.
you've got amazing shoulders. Yeah. Okay. Um, here we go.
Um,
Welcome. Sorry, my hair looks a little strange because it's going in and out of alternate dimensions. But welcome to Staying Sane podcast. We are. My name is Albert Nuremberg. I'm a hypnotist, and I'm with Cassandra McLean, who's also a hypnotist and hypnotherapist. We're both hypnotherapists, and we've got a pretty crazy topic today. Literally crazy, maybe crazy, which is a question of woo, which is a simple term for psychic phenomena, intuitives, speaking to the dead, creating magic. And the question is, how do you know if these things are real or not? Is that a good way of saying it?
and yes, that's a good jumping off point for me. My interest in bringing this topic to our podcast and to our audience today, what does it have to do with staying sane in an insane world? Is that as the civilization that we've all always known is crumbling and destabilizing, and we're feeling that from the macro, and then in your own individual life, more and more people are feeling the effects of what about my job, and is AI coming for my job, and relationships, and all of these consequences that we talk about that make us go crazy of our sick culture and our unstable society. More and more people are looking for something external, someone to help me understand this, or to make me believe in magic, or believe that everything is going to be okay. And therefore, we're vulnerable to be preyed upon by the scammers and con artists who exist in that space, who want to tell you, oh, yeah, I've got just what you need to feel better.
Yeah. I mean, one really clean example is if our world is kind of in trouble, then a lot of people kind of check out and go, well, it's okay because I'm going to be okay in the afterlife. And that produces a dangerous trend of people being not responsible for outcomes here on Earth, which actually might be the only game in town. It just might be. So, yeah. So tell us about you had a psychic experience just this week. What was that like?
It was terrible. It was
Oh,
really regrettable. I do feel that, so I want to take responsibility. I'm a big believer in part of my methodology for staying sane and generating stability from within and inner strength and well-being is taking responsibility for my life, my circumstances, and especially the choices that I make. So I made the choice that I would have a session with a woman who proposes to be a medium, a psychic medium. So, as some of our listeners may know, and my dad died a few months ago. Before that, my dearest friend died. There's been a lot of death and loss. And but specifically with my dad, of course I want to believe like maybe this woman is that has a channel, like she's got something that I don't have. And it didn't come to me from my own mind. It came to me from somebody in my network who's really into psychics and mediums. Like she's seeing them all the time. She gets a reading here, she gets a reading there. She told me about this. She connected me with my grandma. And she's like, she's paid everybody and their mother. And she's like super into it. And she says, of all these people, like this woman, she's good. She's the best one. And I thought, okay, you know what? The market research has been done. This person who I know has already filtered through 12 or 15 psychics and mediums. She says this one's the real deal. What do I have to lose if I could connect with my dead dad? That's priceless to me. So okay, I'll do it. And I gave her no, I was like, I'm gonna be very guarded. I'm not gonna even give her my real name or like anything like that. But in the end, I'm quite certain that I was scammed, and I also feel violated. I feel preyed upon. I think what she did and said was unethical and frankly reprehensible. It was not even what I went for. Forget about a message from my dad. My dad didn't come up in any, there was not even a whiff or a sparkle of suggestion that my dad was present in any way at all. Um, but she I think she read me well, and she went right into my pain and just described how painful it was when my husband left and I never thought that he would leave me and how much I suffered for that. And she's just going on and on. And I'm sitting there. I was in a trance. I did feel entranced by the nature of what was happening. And I'm crying and I'm waiting for like, okay, so where's the messages from my spirit guides that are going to help make this better? Nothing positive came from it. She told me, she said, you have a black hole in your energy about this big. I can see it. And you carry this black hole around with you from trauma that you had when you were a child. Then she, again, I'm skipping ahead for sake of time, but she essentially suggested, or what we would know to never do, implant some false memory or some seed that perhaps I was molested by an uncle when I was a child.
You
Luckily,
should.
I don't have an uncle.
You
There's
have
no.
no uncle. Peculiar situation. You have no uncles, so you couldn't have been right. And then did you say she switched to a kind of metaphorical uncle, like a uncle-ish type
It
person?
could
Is
just
that
be a man who was around a lot.
right?
Thankfully, again, I had my grandpa, I had my dad. Those were the men in my life until I was in my teens. My mother didn't date other men after my parents divorced. My dad didn't have male friends. There were no men around. That's it. So thank God I'm like, there's literally no one that could be. If I could think of somebody, even with all of my reservation and my intelligence and my logic, I would still be deeply upset to think, could it have been? Could that psychic have been right? Even though I don't even believe in her and I think everything she said was just, well, it was just awful. It would still have affected me. Thankfully, I'm immune because it's literally an impossibility. Um, this person really upset me. And while she was doing whatever she was doing, I started to get a very bad headache. And then after it was over, I felt like the blood had been drained from my body. I laid in my bed. My headache was becoming a migraine. I was crying. It was an all in all horrible experience. Why did that happen to me? Because I put my faith in someone outside of myself to give me some comfort or some peace, not generating it from within, which is my whole thing. That's what I'm all about, building all my business, my brand, my identity around generate from within and trust yourself. But I also believe that people have different skills and gifts. And perhaps there are people who truly and genuinely are connected to other layers of consciousness. I very much believe in that. I know people who are. And herein lies the problem. There are some select people who truly have been doing diligent work in meditation and using certain faculties, and they are connected to things that I'm not. Maybe I could be if I took on those same practices and that degree of dedication to develop that part of my mind, but I haven't. So I can hire this person and tap into their gifts. That should be fine. But when it's something so important as like your heart, your psyche, what you believe to be real in life, in that space with those select few who really are gifted and skilled and special, there, for every one real deal person, there's 50 scam artists pretending.
Yeah.
And how
No.
do you know the difference?
So on this exact question, which is sometimes called so psychic readings or mediums who talk to your uh, let's say dead relatives or passed on relatives, people should know that there is a well-established scam tradition, and this is what people don't know. Meaning, there's a phenomenon called cold reading. You can look it up. You can buy books on cold reading, how to do it, and those books explain how to get somebody who is motivated to talk to a relative, friend, or lover or something, and to convince them that you really are doing it, even though you know you're not. And these people, of course, make millions of dollars because they charge a lot because it's a special service. Um, and Darren Brown, the famous hypnotist, has demonstrated, as an amazing demonstration, you can look it up, where he goes to a group, pretends that he's a psychic medium, and then cold reads a bunch of people. They are in tears because he's so accurate and he's doing a really good job. But he then has to tell them all of that was not true. I basically scammed you, but I'm telling you that I did to show you how easy it is to do it. Um, and then they're actually thankful. They say thanks for doing that. But the point is that you can be scammed. So I think we agree. This is where I'm at with it. There's a lot of things in life we don't know. maybe that you can talk to the dead. Maybe you can. I've had some experiences I can't explain, which would suggest, yeah, it seems maybe it's possible. But it's important to know that a bunch of the people who claim to be talking to the dead but are taking money, particularly to do it, are not. They're scamming. And that is an age-old or very old tradition, well established. It works. And it's important to know that those people are out there. So, yeah, and there's a whole bunch of these things going on right now. And I think what you're saying, which is also true, is that as the culture feels a little more on edge, which a lot of us feel, people will be drawn to this kind of thing more and more as people are drawn to these kind of like things that used to be sort of really on the margins, like astrology. Um, it's a really confusing thing. I do not believe literally in astrology because I'm like, how do these guys who really don't seem to have a clear expertise seem so adamant that because Mars is over there, then this is going to happen in your life? And there would be a very easy way to check, and nobody ever does this. Twins. So, twins are born at the same day, same moment often. You could just check that twins have the same experiences based on astrological outcomes.
Well,
And
the thing with astrology that I want to say is that some people find it truly helpful for them. And
yeah,
anything that genuinely is helping you,
yeah.
the friend, for example, who referred me to this psychic medium, she's getting a lot of benefit. That's why she keeps going to them. For her, it's therapeutic, it's healing. She feels the nature of the difference is belief. She's believing that this is helping her, and therefore it's this placebo effect. And astrology can be this placebo effect. Oh, you know what, this bad thing happened to me, but I read it in my chart, this was gonna happen today anyway, it's just the stars are unfolding and I can handle it. Gives me more peace than this thing happened to me and the world is chaos and I don't even know where it came from. Anything
And
that gives you peace I'm okay with, but being scammed I'm not.
yeah, and it makes sense also that that big planets or the moon and are affecting us. I mean, famously, Anton Mesmer, kind of seen as one of the founders of modern hypnosis. One of his initial theories that he was laughed out of rooms for was that the moon affects people.
Oh,
That was
really?
his big thing. The moon affects people. And yeah, the moon does affect people. I'm sure it does affect. Look what it does to oceans. It moves oceans back and forth, so it makes sense that it would affect people. The size, the closeness, the way it moves. Yeah. But I want to know how the moon really affects people rather than some book that somebody's selling you about how the moon affects people.
Sure. But the question we're circling around is how? How do we discern? And again, this is a very much an open and evolving conversation because I'm here saying, admittedly, right out of the gate, I was scammed. I'm very discerning and blah, 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 blah. But in the end, I had a very unpleasant experience with somebody who I think is unethical to be doing what she's doing and took advantage of me because I was willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to go for it. I wasn't discerning enough. Well, could I have been more discerning if I was already convinced? You know what, my dad died. I want to see. Somebody planted the idea in my head that a medium might be able to. Now I want to go for it. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go for it. Try new things. Okay. How do I discern? What could I have asked that woman differently to suss out before booking time with her to say, hey, I was, what are you can't ask in this field, what are your credentials to be a psychic medium? I'm gifted by God. That's it. That's their answer, right? It's like, how do we be more discerning when we want to play in this sphere to protect some unwanted negative consequence, like feeling scammed?
What
I don't
I
have an
think
answer. It's a question.
I actually have a bit of an answer to your question, and I had an experience this weekend. I was in San Francisco at a crazy confab. I don't know what else to call it. It was sort of a conference of people that were specialists in some really extraordinary phenomena, including some of it which seemed more legitimate to me. For example, the telepathy tapes. Which is well known. And this is the idea that autistic children have telepathic abilities,
Nonverbal autism
nonverbal autistic children in
and adults.
particular. Yeah. So at this event, I saw three things that amazed me, and these were presentations that were made. So one was a woman who put on six blindfolds and was able to read cards. People would show her cards, and she could say what was on the cards. And then also, she'd say, put a picture on your phone, like open up your phone, find a picture, and hand me the phone, and I'll tell you what it is. And she did it with 100% accuracy. I even took a picture of her as she's doing this, and then handed her my phone, and then she said, "Oh, it's a picture of me." Now, what was a little bit suspicious to me is at different times she's moving her head around, and two, that she had big fake eyelashes, which is just like a cosmetic thing. But I found out afterwards, not being somebody who wears fake eyelashes, that they were quite solid and that they would kind of push, if you lift them up, they would sort of push things around. Now, I found myself suspicious, though at the time I was like, whoa, she's doing something called mind sight. It's the belief that the brain itself can see, that it doesn't need eyes. And she has a big business where she trains people to do this, and she claims they learn how to do it. So I wanted to be open to it. Who wouldn't want to know that their brain can see? And she can even see behind her head, she claims. That would be a useful skill. And so I'll give you a funny example of like the two sides to this. She went on a podcast recently and demonstrated her skills. Her name is Dahlia Bourgogne. Bourgogne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. She's American, I think. Anyways, and on the podcast, they had her demonstrate these things, and they're like, "Whoa!" They're skeptical, but they were amazed. She couldn't do everything she said, but she could read a whole bunch of things. They gave her book titles, and she always got them right, even though she's got six blindfolds. But on that podcast, there were critiques immediately, and somebody posted that this is a well-known mentalist trick that mentalists have known and have demonstrated for years. Put a bunch of blindfolds on me, like Harry Houdini and stuff like that, and I can still see. And they do it by opening it up and like just looking through a sliver of light. They find a way to do it, and they're able to do it. Now, my point is that I'm tempted to believe this woman only in that I talked to her personally. She seemed sincere. She seemed like she was willing to undergo, extreme testing. But it is also true that this is a famous mentalist trick that is fake. Both things are true. So, what is the deeper truth? I don't know. And some people said to me when I was bringing it up, they said, "Oh, we're all making our own reality here." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Wait, if you were in a car crash with somebody and they crashed their car into you, and they said to you, 'Oh, please don't be offended that I crashed into your car. We're all making our own reality. Like in your reality, I crashed into your car. In my reality, I didn't.' I'd be like,
Well,
no, there's one reality and where you crashed into my car, and that's the truth. You can't say that we're living in separate realities because at some point there's common reality."
there are facts in the physical plane that we must admit are happening, but our perceptions of those can be so different that it's as though we're living in different realities. And
Yeah.
I think, this is actually a wonderful topic. We could do a whole hour and just focus on what's the truth around, do you create your own reality? One of the most interesting things to realize about this idea is that nobody was saying this until like the 1960s. And then this idea came up. You don't go back into historical texts and it's like you are the creator of the universe. That's not there. There are, wisdom traditions that we can read and interpret to fit that it meant this, but it didn't say explicitly that. This idea, you create your reality, you create your reality, you create your reality. Though there is a lot of truth to that, those of us just throwing this language around, who's the you who's creating it? Your ego? You think that's what's creating reality, is the mind that you are like, what reality do I want to create today? I want to have a condo on the beach and a two-top Mercedes and a handsome husband, and I'm creating my reality. It's way, way, way deeper than that. And the part of you, the soul, spiritual, deep consciousness essence that is creating your reality is not concerned with these superficial things that you think you are.
Also, I say a key thing that's missing is balance. Like my martial arts teacher would always tell me that you can't that you these things require balance. You can be strong, but you also have to be peaceful. And the reason I say that is yeah, on some level, you might be manifesting certain things in your life, but it is balanced by the fact that you are not manifesting things in your life, that things are just happening. Like that bird crapped on your head. That's not you manifesting your reality. In fact, one of my first experiences with this was I met somebody who would tell me that I am creating my own reality, and that's why my life is so good. And she said, bad things rarely happen to me because I'm manifesting my reality really well. And and then literally, as we were walking, a bird pooped on her head. And I didn't laugh at her, but I was like, that's kind of the moral of the story, and but the balance is like, yeah, maybe there's some things that you are in control of, that you are manifesting, but there's also this other side. The balance is recognizing that obviously a big part of the world is outside your control. Um, and that's the same thing
Yeah.
with these phenomena. Like what I noticed about these phenomena, there were other people that did exceptional things at this event. It wasn't just that the people did exceptional things. There was always a group of people around them who'd get really uppity when somebody said, there was a guy who was applying electrical shocks to people with his hands. And he said, I can do this with my fingers. It's a healing touch. That's electrical. And when the minute people were like, oh, really? Could you really shock people with your hands for an hour straight? People got very angry. There was some of the person's students or his partner, and there's this intolerance which should is a kind of giveaway that there's something suspicious. And again, the jury's out for me on some of these things. Maybe there's something there, but why do you have to be so adamant that everybody's got to believe? That's the way these things often work. Like either, so same with psychic phenomena. You can be skeptical. Why can't you be like, oh yeah, maybe there are people who can talk to those who have passed on, yet I'm wondering about this particular person. I'm wondering if that wasn't, a powerful insight. Maybe you're wrong some of the time.
Well, this is such a complex topic, and we're really only having like the pre-talk around this topic, because
Yeah,
even
yeah,
even my own words I want to backpedal on, where I was like, if something makes you, brings you healing or peace of mind, go for it. However, I'm gonna take that back, because let's say with this person who referred me to this other person, she's like, it's helpful for me. It's, okay, good. I said I'm in support of that. However, when you're choosing to be this kind of diehard believer, like you just described, where you know you're not even allowed to be skeptical against my person, they're the real deal. They're the real deal. You are now making yourself more vulnerable to a false influence. So let's say that person is the real deal. That's fine, but they make one mistake one time and suggest that your uncle molested you when you were a child. You are now believing so much in the power of that external thing that can completely destroy a family right there. One sentence from the wrong person because you believed in them so much can destabilize your whole life, all of your relationships. You know what? I was having this great relationship with this man, but I went to my psychic and she said that he's a cheater and in a past life, blah, blah, blah. And I broke up with him right away. But what did he do? Well, he didn't do anything yet, but she told me he was gonna,
who's
and he
going
didn't.
to? Yeah,
And
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
so this is where it really gets dangerous, and it seems to me, and this is honestly, I told you I felt really, really badly physically and emotionally after that session, and it showed me some things about myself. Okay, I'm way too sensitive to even be in this kind of circumstance. Some people have a thicker skin. It's like, you know what, lady, yeah, that's baloney, and then they just get up and walk it off. I was
yeah.
impacted, and not by choice. I would prefer to have been that thick-skinned person, but okay, I'm learning about myself because I'm always like opening my consciousness, and maybe I'm just too open to be around that kind of thing. Okay, that's one thing. But more was, I left with this feeling of, I haven't lost my belief that my father's immortal soul is in the
Somewhere.
ether somewhere,
Yeah,
and helping me in some angelic kind of way. What I have lost a belief in is that somebody else is going to help me have a conversation with him as if he were still alive. If I want to commune with my father's soul, That means me sitting on my meditation cushion and emptying my mind and emptying my ego and becoming pure spirit and opening myself up to, I don't even know what it's going to look like, feel like, sound like when I'm communing with the souls of those on the other side of the veil. I don't know what it'll look like or sound like or feel like. I should have no expectations. I don't have a list of questions prepared. I just do the actual spiritual thing and empty my mind of myself and see what spirit wants to bring in. And then maybe I'll communicate with my dad. That could take a few decades of practice.
I think we have to wrap up there, unfortunately, but I want to say you were right. I think this is like a pre-talk. We could come back to this, and we probably will come back to it. But thank you for sharing that story. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the Staying Sane podcast. We apologize that we have clients and we have to go on with our lives, but otherwise we'd
Could be
keep
one of
going.
them. Book a session with us today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you could be one of them. So thank you, Cassandra. This is Staying Sane.